Hello, Kelly. Thank you
Hi.
so much for being part of this, and let's jump right into it. So tell me a bit about what you're working on and what's exciting you right now.
I A lot's exciting me right now. I just moved to Ojai, California from Tulum, Mexico, where I was
Mhm,
living for a couple years. So that's very exciting because I'm just still getting my footing and meeting people and figuring out what I'm doing here.
mhm,
And I'm also working on a group program. I'm spending a year with a group of females and just came through the first 2 months of that. And so that's taking a lot of my focus right now, but it's
mhm.
very exciting.
And tell me a bit about your work.
So I work with female executives and entrepreneurs who've sacrificed their soul for success.
Mm,
I help them get I help them get it back. I
Yeah.
help them get realigned their body, mind, and spirit. I help them. It's depleted, so I help them get back on track and be able to stop doing, overachieving,
Mhm.
overcompensating. I just help them get back in alignment and live more life with more ease and flow.
And tell me a bit about, you would think success is what people want. So why would someone want to change that or get help around that? Tell me more about that.
The success is not a bad thing. It's the overdoing that
Yeah.
can seem to trip up my clients. I am a recovering control lover, and uh, there's a place where we can get to where we push and grind and we live that way for years and years and years, and we can end up at a place where we're like, seriously.
Mhm,
I did all that work and I still feel like there's something missing. I
mhm,
feel like, I can't figure out what that is, but I need to understand it more. And that's what happened to me. I uh, pushed and grinded myself for 17 years, basically, in a career. And I finally got to the top. I was running a $34 million organization and I knew this is not it.
mm.
It's not an easy place to be when you've spent that amount of time working
Right.
towards something.
Tell me more about that career, previous career, and the transition that you made, and how it led you to what you're doing now.
Yeah, so I had a career in natural foods, and which sounds so innocent, but I really pushed myself to get to, like, I was running one of the largest companies, organizations in the country, and at the end of it, when it was time to go, lots of things were happening to convince me that this is not quite it anymore,
Mm,
and um, of course, I was like, "Are you sure?"
yeah.
You know, I really want to be sure, even though it was so many painful things one after the other, and I was exhausted, and I had no idea how tired I was until I actually walked away. It took me 4 years to
Mm,
recover from that 17 years of pushing myself to succeed.
mm,
And I had depleted my adrenals, my kidneys were depleted, I had 3 fibroid tumors growing on my uterus, and that was not a way to be when I'd spent 20 something years eating organically and taking care of my body. As soon
yeah.
as my health went, I was like, oh, that's it. I'll
Right.
sacrifice a lot, but I'm not going to sacrifice my health and my
Yeah.
body when I've taken
Yeah.
care of it for so many years.
And how did that, like, what did you do from there?
So I got on board with the fact that it needed to change. I had a parallel path at the same time of all this pushing and grinding. I was also exploring my spiritual side and exploring this my personal growth, and so I also dedicated myself to that, being the good doer that I was. Um, and so I dedicated myself to that process as well, and overachieved there.
Mm,
There are worse things to be, accomplishing to the extreme, but I found that for me and my clients, the overdoing, we tend to go all in on everything,
mhm,
and so it became time for me to match the work that I did with the spiritual path that I'd been on for decades. And I knew that was the truth, but I still was, the universe will tap you on the shoulder and it's like, okay, yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
They smack you upside the head, and then it's more like a piano drops on your head.
Yeah.
I had to wait till the piano. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to get
So
there.
what was the piano moment?
Uh, well, it was my health for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
knowing that the stress and the the disregarding all of the practices, everything that I knew was the best for me. I had just pushed all that aside in the name of like, we're just going to get through this and then we'll be okay. And we get through that thing. And it was like, oh, okay, we just have to get through this
Yes.
thing and then it'll be okay. And this thing was bigger than the last one. And it was just like, my God, what is this? And, finally I was working with an executive coach, and she was helping me navigate it. There was a plan. I was like, I just need to make really sure that after I'm going to walk away from this, that my square peg doesn't fit in this round hole anymore. But that's a painful place when you're trying to like really shove that in there. So.
And how are things now?
Things are amazing.
Good.
So it wasn't just my job that I walked away from. I purchased a business with a friend after I left that job. I ended up walking away from that business 18 months later, along with my marriage. And I left the country and I moved to Tulum, Mexico. And I basically, for 2.5 years, I traveled around and was on a massive healing journey, which at the time I didn't really know that that's what it was. And finally occurred to me in 2018, the end of 2018, when I landed in Bali for 3 months and met up with a healer who was like, if you don't stop, you're going to kill yourself. And I was like, what do you mean I've stopped?
Yeah.
I was like, I left everything. I've stopped. And it was like my body was on pause. It was like it was still frozen in that time of stress. And so I worked with him to bring it back to where it needed to be. And I felt immediate results. And, I've taken all of the lessons that I learned over the last 4 years, really, because that journey started when I walked away from my job. People don't have to walk away from everything, but they need to make some changes in their lives for sure. If they're at that place where their body, there's just not enough sleep, when you're at that place. And so that's who my clients are, at that place. And some of them walk away from their jobs. Some of them stay and just retool what they're doing. But yeah, so I took all the pieces and put it together into the work that I'm doing now, which goes back to what you asked me. What I'm
amazing. Yes. And for people who are in that place of, what do you call it? Burnout. And, yeah.
Overwhelm.
Overwhelm, burnout. What are some things to think about and to act on to get started?
Well, awareness is the first step.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of times what happens is we are, as women, because I work with women, I do have a couple men I work with too, but I mostly work with women, is that we get so far into that paradigm of driving ourselves forward that we are having trouble reconnecting to our heart, reconnecting to like what's true for us. And so really having the awareness that something is off, don't ignore those signs. They're there. They're always there. And a lot of times we think when we get to this some place that we believe we're headed, that's when we're going to actually arrive at this place and say, okay, now I'll take care of this, the stress, the anxiety, the overwhelm, the fact that I never see my family, all of those things, there isn't a time where you're going to get there unless you actually understand and have the awareness that something needs to change, and then take some action to do that. And I have found the scariest part is actually saying, okay, I'm going to do something about this. A lot of people get really afraid to just allow themselves to say that I've got to change this, what I'm in right now. And so they'd stay in the status quo. They keep doing the things. And that's where I was. I knew I was in my job, the most recent job, running that organization for 3 years. And about probably a year in, I was like, something feels off, but you want to make sure you've committed at that level. So, and so about a year before I left was where I was kind of like, I need to make sure, because I spent a long time building this career and getting here. And when you get there, it's like, I had 2 houses, a husband, I had a great life, BMW, the great job. It was like, something's still not right.
Interesting.
What's going on? Trust that.
Yeah. I love that.
That's happening for a reason.
I love that. And just a couple more questions before we wrap here. I'm curious, sure. What are some of the biggest patterns that you see with your clients?
One of them is really ignoring the signs. they really do believe that there's some place they're going to get to. You know, a lot of my clients have anxiety, and they look at that anxiety as, oh, it's when I have to do a presentation, or I have to speak to someone in authority, or I have to go into and speak to a prospective investor, or, you know, a board meeting, and they're feeling this anxiety. And a lot of times it really isn't that. There is some of it, you know, but there's a deeper thing that's happening. And so what I do is I help them get to their truth. I really help them get to the underlying causes of what's going on. So if they're stressed out, they can't sleep at night. A lot of times, you know, you wake up at 3:30 in the morning staring at the ceiling thinking, I'm going to solve all the problems right now, and nothing gets solved at 3:30 in the morning staring at the ceiling. It's just all the terrible things. So when you can get back to sleep and then wake up, it's like, oh my God, why was I ruminating like that for so long at 3:30 in the morning? It's like, but then you do it again, you know? If those things are happening, don't ignore what your body's telling you, because your body is like your radar system. It's telling you, hey, there's something going on. And we get so stuck up here. And this is a wonderful, wonderful tool for so many things, unless it's about, you know, really tuning in and listening to, what is my heart saying right now? What is my body saying right now?
Because there's so much knowledge in there.
Yes.
Wisdom, rather.
Yeah. So much wisdom. And we get really caught up in listening to what our mind is trying to convince us of.
And what would you say you most need help with right now?
Most help. God, everything is it's really so good. I should have something. I should have something that I need help with.
You need help coming up with help.
I would say, I don't know.
All right.
Things are really good.
Good. That's a great answer. If you think of something, let me know.
Okay.
And is there anything else you'd want to add?
No, this has been great. I'm really happy that you're doing this.
Thanks so much.
It's working out well for you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And last of all, where can people find you online, and how can they connect with you?
They can find me on Instagram at Kelli, KELLI.REESE, or on Facebook, Kelli Reese Coach, I think it is.
Perfect. Thanks so much.
Or my email too. It's kellireese.com.
Thanks, Kelli.
Thank you.
Thank you.